Our phones are an incredible piece of technology and such a valuable addition to our day-to-day lives. And yet the reality is they can also potentially be detrimental for our mental, emotional and spiritual health if we don't wise up on our usage, if we don't fully understand the potential pitfalls and the potential dangers that accompany the joy and the fun that they bring into our lives. And I'm not trying to be a killjoy, but I do think it is important, particularly for parents, that there is a greater awareness of the impacts that using your phone and relying on your phone can bring upon a person. And I suppose the first thing I look at is the social media apps, and it's just a breeding ground for negative comparison, for making people feel like their lives are somewhat inadequate. And it's always worth noting how you feel when you look at a certain person's page. You know, do you feel happy for that person? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel motivated? Or do you look at that page and feel that your life is inadequate? Or do you feel negatively about yourself? And that should be the deciding factor in your follows. Does the page educate you? Does it bring you any further to where it is you want to be and what you want your life to reflect? Or does it make you feel like as if you're lacking in something? And I suppose it's worth exploring as well whether or not that's down to your insecurity and whether maybe you need to work on your self-worth, or whether you're just following pages that are just unsustainable. The lives of the people there are very unrealistic and they're not something that you're ever going to be able to achieve or maintain. So looking at them and feeling bad about yourself just isn't worth your while, and you need to make a conscious choice as to what it is that you want to feel when you open up your phone on a daily basis. So become very mindful as well about the amount of time that you spend on all the relevant apps. I mean, you'd be amazed at how you fill any moment of boredom, whether you be in a queue, whether you be in the toilet, whatever it is. We can no longer tolerate any bit of boredom or any bit of irritability. We just straight away onto the phones, and it's a form of avoidance. But what it also does is it dumbs down our capacity to create thought, to come up with ideas, because we're basically not giving our mind a chance to be unoccupied, and consequently we can go further and further away from our innate curiosity, from our innate creativity, and from potentially finding what it is that we need to be doing in order to lead a really fulfilled life, to find a purposeful way of living. And you know, that's a disaster, because so many people say, oh, my life feels pretty empty, and yet when they look at their mobile phone usage, they are spending 2 to 3 hours a day just flicking through, looking at mindless stuff, really, you know, just photos of other people's highlight reels, as opposed to doing something constructive with their time, or, you know, adding in a few minutes of meditation, or self-reflecting, or trying to learn something new. I suppose it's all about choosing what you use your phone for, because again, the phone can really help with those practices such as meditation, such as learning. However, a lot of the stuff that we utilize our phone for isn't anyways educational, or isn't anyways benefiting our day-to-day life. Likewise with connection. I mean, our phones just sever our ability to connect with other people, to engage with the people that we actually ought to be engaging with. It hampers our ability to be vulnerable. It basically provides a distraction, so we're never really fully present with people. Even if our phone is face down, we're still thinking about potentially what is there, because our phones have quite an addictive element to them, and we see more and more people becoming addicted to their phones because literally they cannot go a second without opening it up. And if you look at the amount of times you open your home screen on a daily basis, it's shocking. It really is. And it's just about this always feeling that there's a potential something there, you know, and you're always looking for satisfaction that you never actually get. You go on to Facebook and then there's nothing on Facebook, so you go on to Instagram, then you go on to Twitter, then you go on to whatever else it is, and the next thing, an hour of your life is gone on, and you're just like, where did that just go? I haven't learned anything, I haven't engaged, I don't know what has just happened. And as well as that, you feel worse, you feel lethargic, you feel drained because you're constantly bombarded with decisions. Do I stay on this app? Do I stay on another app? But they're all itchy-bitchy decisions that aren't really consequential to your life or anyways important, and yet all of your brain energy is being used up. Consequently, you are less able to focus, to concentrate, and to make the important decisions in life. You know, you're more likely to dilly-dally over your relationship, or, you know, whether or not you need to switch jobs. And again, just diving back into the phone every time there is a difficult conversation or a difficult decision to be made in life. And it's all about avoidance, it's all about kind of numbing out, it's all about not having to deal with your day-to-day life. There's always something there to entertain you, and consequently you're on autopilot. It's like a zombie moving through the day, you know, just basically filling all of the empty moments with Facebook and with Instagram. The majority of people, when they're asked if they prefer to go without their partners or Wi-Fi for 24 hours, they say they prefer to go without their partners. And that's fairly telling, guys, you know. It's about understanding that there is no harm in boredom, that there is no harm in allowing yourself to become curious, to create an awareness of your life, to come away from autopilot, to recognize that your phone isn't everything, that what really matters is your ability to connect. And the more we utilize our phones, the less likely we are to want to connect, because connecting on a face-to-face level requires effort, it requires patience, it requires tolerance, it requires us to be able to communicate, to be able to hear another person's opinion, and we are losing that skill very, very quickly. I mean, it's so much easier to just realize that there's always someone available for you to talk to, even if, you know, your partner is pissing you off or your friend is pissing you off, there's somebody else there. And it's just always replacing people, you know. It's kind of not really doing the work required to have deep relationships that are meaningful. And it's also not allowing yourself to ask the questions necessary to find out what it is that you need to be doing with your life in order to feel fulfilled and in order to feel satisfied. And that's not even mentioning sleep and the impact that usage of the phone has on your ability to switch off at night. So, you know, even if you can just introduce a certain amount of techno hygiene, such as limiting the amount of usage that you have on your apps per day, being very mindful of who it is that you follow, being very mindful of what it brings up when you see certain things on your phone, and being willing to explore that, being very open to following stuff that's more educational, that is more enlightening, that is more informative, and that will help you feel better as opposed to make you feel worse or enable you to numb out. Also, making sure that your screens are not at their normal color at least 2 hours before bedtime. I mean, there's a function on every phone, I think most phones anyway, all of the smartphones, to actually turn your screen to grey or to dim down the blue light coming towards bedtime. So if you just switch it off at 6 o'clock, well, it kind of kills two birds with one stone, because it's so funny when you look at Instagram or when you look at Facebook and there's no colour, it diminishes all the interest. I mean, we're literally like kids. We're being kind of excited by the bright lights of our apps because it's not the content. Because I'll guarantee you, once you look at everything in black and white, all of a sudden it's like, I could be doing something better with my time. So be really realistic about why it is that you need to spend a hell of a lot of time on your phone and what it is that you're missing out on, and the impact that it is having on your health. Because I guarantee you, when you start noticing a severing of connection, you will start to go downhill from an emotional, mental and spiritual perspective. We need to engage with other people at a face-to-face level to feel healthy and to feel well. We need to not be reminded of our inadequacies on a continuous basis. We need to get off this comparison treadmill, this I suppose continuous feed of what it is that our life should be like, and we need to start living. If you'd like to get in touch with me, on the website, it's fundamentals.ie.